Hi everyone, this is Red Flags of a Narcissist. Red Flags of a Male Narcissist. Their views on women. Most male narcissists tend to be misogynist, either covertly or overtly, in both their actions, their behaviors, and their mentality. How can you tell? Well, it's interesting that several of the male narcissists I've known, again, I've known more female narcissists than I have male, but I was in business with a very malignant, very extreme male narcissist, and I was married to one as well. And what's interesting is that both of them, in different contexts, outright said at different points in time that they disliked all women. My ex-husband told me point blank, I hate all women. Or I think he used the word hate. I hate all women. You're the only woman that I don't hate. Now, that's not true. Actually, I think he hated me the most, other than maybe his mother. Because, again, they're usually projecting something from their childhood and from their mother onto other women, especially women they're close with. The more that a woman loves a male narcissist, usually the more they hate her, covertly or secretly deep down. Now, I do think that a lot of narcissists consciously love themselves. But I do think that almost all narcissists subconsciously hate themselves. There's a very fine line between love and hate. And I believe that this false self that they've constructed when their personality was being formed, leading into adolescence. Now, either because their brain is a certain way, and now I'm talking about narcissists, not sociopaths. Sociopaths and psychopaths are a little different than clinical pathological narcissists. Because the way in which they view themselves, the way in which they view other people, and how they act is slightly different. And yes, somebody can be narcissistic and have sociopathy. But just sticking more on the narcissist, that very, very, the rather consistency of what NPD traits look like. I believe that most, if not all, narcissists consciously, like I said, like themselves, and subconsciously hate themselves or love themselves, and subconsciously hate themselves. But they're not even aware of it. That's the thing about subconscious programming for all of us. Until we do some very deep work, and even with a lot of deep work, some people can't get to their subconscious viewpoints. Narcissists probably will never. That's why it's pointless to take a narcissist to therapy or hope that they'll change, because they won't. But we all have subconscious kind of core foundational feelings and viewpoints and opinions and views on ourselves that has constructed our entire concept of the world around us and ourselves in it. Now, my ex-husband, like I said, had no qualms in saying, and my ex-business partner also had said he dislikes most women. Now, why is this? Do I think that it has to do with that this is a core causation of the narcissism? Not really. So maybe in early childhood they had bad experiences and that shaped their bad sense of self-esteem. And a lot of times it may have come from the mom through abuse or neglect. So yes, there could be that correlation. But I think it has to do with something much more broad and less specific to the causation of narcissism, which is, I believe, that anything that has to do with power over them, a feeling like someone has power over them, they hate. Okay, so most straight narcissistic men can have bits and pieces of themselves controlled. Not totally, as we all know, but for certain periods of time when they're desperate for a narcissistic supply, or when something tragic happens in their life, like they have ill health, someone close to them dies, like a parent, when their vulnerability starts to creep up a little bit and they become reliant on women. Anything that a narcissist is reliant on, anyone a narcissist is reliant on, they despise. Because they hate to be controlled. They hate to be at the whim of someone else. Because the more that they are at the whim of someone else, the less control they have. And for narcissists, the foundation of everything that you look at, every trait, every red flag, everything they do, comes down to some, either directly or indirectly, it has something to do with power and control over other people, themselves, yada yada. So why do most male narcissists, in particular straight male narcissists, hate women? Because women have power and control over them. Now, do female narcissists hate men? No, most don't. Are straight female narcissists. So this goes to show you, to me, this goes to show that this isn't about necessarily early childhood and opposite sex parents, because a lot of female narcissists that I've known or been aware of had some type of trauma or abuse or neglect by an opposite sex parent as well. By their fathers neglecting them, leaving them, abusing them, whatever it may be. So why wouldn't it be the same for women, for female narcissists? Here's why. Female narcissists tend to also hate women. And again, it has to do with power and control. The weird thing about female narcissists is their number one driving force tends to be being alpha, in particular amongst other women. Because they see men like trophies, and they see getting a man or a particular type of man as a type of status symbol, and to get something out of them, money, prestige, whatever it may be, their focus tends to be on other women. I've talked about this before, that I'll talk about it in another video, that a red flag of a female narcissist is that they are in constant competition, either covertly or overtly, with other women. And therefore, they too tend to hate women, but for a different reason. Because again, this idea of control. Narcissistic women tend to not need men in the same way that narcissistic men need women. It's just true. It has nothing to do with the sexes inherently. And I think it has more to do with the way in which women and men differ. Even narcissistic women and men differ in the way in which they get narcissistic supply. Or for a non-disordered person, the way a male and a female gets love or affection or attention or validation, or the feelings of camaraderie and attachment. That women and men tend to get it inherently in different ways. Females, women, even narcissists and otherwise, have a much bigger selection in different ways of getting it. Because women tend to give validation and sympathy and empathy from other women, where men tend to not get it from other men as much. So even narcissistic men, because the nature of men and women, aren't going to be able to fulfill their supply enough just by other men, narcissistic or otherwise. So this idea again of control and power tends to be what narcissists hate. So this is why I say that, yes, a red flag of a male narcissist is that they are misogynist and they fundamentally don't like women. If not, they hate them. They often have a Madonna whore complex where they see either women in saintly ways, the Madonna, or in dirty ways, and those are the women you sleep with, like whores. Usually it's pretty black and white. And again, I don't think this has to do necessarily with early childhood trauma or abuse or neglect from the mother, because there's a lot of male narcissists that never went through that. I think, again, it has to do with flat out control and power. Anything or anyone who has any type of control or power over them, even if it's for brief moments, even if it's only for certain things, they despise and they hate. And again, the more a woman loves them and cares about them, the more they'll hate that woman. Because in some ways, it does make them a little bit more vulnerable, but subconsciously they hate themselves. So if you love them, they're going to say, what's wrong with you? And if they hate themselves subconsciously, they're going to start to subconsciously hate you. And then over time, after that first idealization stage passes, then it'll become conscious. And I'm sure you've seen this if you've been with a narcissist. All right, that's it for now. See you in the next red flag, everyone. Great. Namaste.